Okay. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening to this from all over the world. This is Rebecca Lee at Maybe It's Mercury, teaching people how to detox from heavy metals without getting hurt. And today I'm talking with Amanda Jaeger. Amanda lives in Minnesota and is the mother of two grown children. She used to be a nurse, so she was fully vaccinated and has had multiple flu shots. She was a stay-at-home mom for 12 to 15 years, and for 13 years, she led a single parent ministry. Recently, she organized a single parent organization which features an 8-week course that teaches parents how to navigate being single parents. And so, welcome, Amanda, and tell me, what were the health problems that you had that made you think heavy metals and brought you to ACC, and how did you find out about us? And
Yeah, well,
yeah, tell me.
thank you. I, like you said, I was a nurse. I followed the medical, all the practices and treated medically for, most of my adult life.
Hmm.
Um, I ended up, I had a hysterectomy when I was 26, um, just having really, really tough issues with my periods. I had endometriosis. I had ovarian cysts. I was much later diagnosed with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, um, which I think I probably had the whole time. Then in 2019, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto. So my thyroid had kind of crapped out on me, and I had no progesterone in my body. So all of these things kind of are probably related. Some of them can be related to stress, but I just I'm watching my parents as they age and the need for, blood pressure medications and the, rates of diabetes and different things. And I just was feeling like, I just kind of crossed that 40s. I'm in my early 40s, and I don't want to be where a lot of people are in their 60s on blood pressure medications, diabetic, the whole list. I'm already on two medications. So how do I mitigate this? Like, what is my body doing and why? So I started really digging into more the natural side of things and really looking into root causes, which is where I came across an article um, about Andrew Cutler's work. I noticed that anytime I started researching mercury, a lot of experts or whoever they were, even if they didn't agree with Andrew Cutler, they were still citing his work. And so as a nurse, my brain kind of went to looking not just for quality information, but documented, supported, and that just for me was a qualifier. So I came across an article that kind of described the pattern of mercury, and I was like, my gosh, that's my medical history.
That's me.
That is definitely me. So I had I think 8 amalgam fillings in my mouth.
Okay.
Yep. And
Brainer.
then
Yeah. Okay. Go on.
and then just knowing, that I had done every vaccine practically known to man, when I was working as a nurse, I did flu shots every year. So I knew for sure that I had enough reason to suspect mercury toxicity. My mom also remembers literally playing with mercury with her fingers in school. So there was just overwhelming evidence that mercury definitely was at least a high potential. Um, so I just kind of continued to dig in and read and, you know, chase down rabbit holes. And then I just was convinced that this was at least something that I knew I wanted um, to attempt to treat. to kind of see what happens. And it feels like the least risky thing to do to ensure that my health is better as I age. So I started with finding a smart dentist, had my fillings removed last summer, so
Okay.
summer 2023. Um, I was terrified because I joined the Facebook group and I was reading
You
and
read
I was
these horror
like,
stories, yeah.
oh, I can't do this. Never mind. That really scared me.
You're
So I bought the book and just decided not to read any more of the Facebook until I had read the entire book and just had kind of come up with a plan to make myself feel better because it was just all these side effects were super scary, the whole idea that you could not do it right, and it just was super overwhelming. So
But you sound like one of those people. I mean, I think a rare people that weren't like deathly ill and mentally ill and bedridden and so forth. Those are the ones that tend to wind up with us. It's sort of like a last resort. That's unfortunately does seem to be what we get. And we don't, and the people who just like you sort of seem to be, I mean, a lot of people would have just taken thyroid meds and continued on, in your situation
and I
because
did for a
you're
few
functioning
years.
pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I did for a few years, and I would say that I function pretty well, but I definitely struggle with fatigue and brain fog,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
motivation, and like the processing of information feels like it's harder than it used to be.
All that mercury stuff. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be like I was a straight A student. I love reading. I'm a researcher. I love to dig into information, and that has felt harder for me,
Yeah.
harder to retain the information, I think. So, but what I did notice is that so I had my fillings removed, and I felt awful. That was probably the worst I felt.
Really?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Like people describe the dump and I feel like I went straight into the dump.
How long did that last? I mean, it must have been some kind of exposure you got. I mean, it seems almost impossible to.
Yeah.
I got my fillings removed and nothing happened. So just like, it just depends. But
Yeah, and that was where I was really struggling. That was where it was really hard to get motivated to do anything. And the fatigue, and
yeah.
I had headaches. So I had ordered DMPS, and is that the
Yeah, yeah.
right?
EMPS,
Yep.
yeah.
And ALA. So that was my first international purchase. That was a little bit of an adventure. So had to get my bank on the
The
line and
bank
like,
for some reason, always turns down that transaction.
yes. Yep. But so I got it and I had all my fillings removed and I was so scared to take it that I waited for a couple of weeks. And then I just was like, I just have to do this. Like I just have to see what happens because I don't know until I do it.
Yeah.
So the second dose of DMPS, I had mental clarity like I had not had in months. It was wild. Just I mean, it was like seeing in color for the first time in months. I couldn't even explain it. It was just beyond words. That was totally, I don't know, unexpected. So I continued for 3 months until I could take ALA. And I have just consistently noticed way more energy, more mental clarity. I feel like I'm more motivated. I get more done. Things just are becoming easier. Except for when I have headaches, usually I get headaches when I'm on round.
Hmm. So on
So,
round's harder for you,
yep,
but
day two of round seems to be like where I get hit. Um, but then since I had the first conversation with you and we talked about ACE, I did start that. And that I feel like has given me much more energy.
that's adrenal cortex for those who don't know what it is. Yeah, well, people
Yeah.
usually people really like that supplement. It's kind of the best thing that we can tell you about is adrenal cortex. Um,
Yeah, I was nervous about taking it because, I'm a researcher, so I love to, deep dive and Google and, read articles and journals and medical journals and things like that. And that was all scary information. So I don't recommend that. I recommend do what your body is responding to. So
yeah, it may be. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I figure if it's not on our outright do not do list, and people react to things so differently that I just tell people try it. Try it and see what happens. You know,
yeah.
your body will tell you, I know I don't want any of this stuff, or wow, I've been waiting for you to give me a bit of that.
Well, and I was reasonably assured that the adrenal cortex was going to be beneficial because I was doing the adrenal cocktail. So the orange juice, cream of tartar, salt. That seemed to really help when I was on round and struggling with headaches or, um,
So your headaches were coming from your adrenal system.
possibly.
Thyroid, you're already on thyroid meds, right?
Yep. I take thyroid meds and progesterone.
Yeah. Maybe you'll be able to lower your thyroid meds slowly. I mean, that may all recover. Doesn't
That's my
what it does for. And one of the things that Andy pointed out to me was, or it's in the book too, that you really need that when your thyroid starts working or kicks in when you give it the hormones it needs, it puts stress on the adrenals, so it can make you more tired, actually.
that makes sense.
A lot of people don't know that. So we always say support the adrenals first and then put the thyroid meds in, but I don't think many doctors do that.
No, no, there's so many things that doctors are either unaware of
Dude,
or they just don't share the information, and I mean, that would have been really nice. Before going on meds, could we have tried something to reverse it or, work on things? And there isn't a lot of that practice.
well, I don't think very many people understand about mercury,
Absolutely. I
how much
can't believe
there is.
dentists are still
Yeah,
putting it in people's mouths. I mean, that's
you know,
ridiculous.
yeah, or into their medicine.
Yeah. And I don't think people are doing the right research and understanding what they're putting in their bodies. And I mean, we have chemicals everywhere, but some of them are way more harmful than I think we realize, and we use them every day.
Yeah, but this one's like a foundational.
Mm-hmm.
This is the foundational poison, in my opinion, because it keeps you from being able to eliminate anything else, and it
Yep.
builds up, like other ones, maybe you can just excrete them. Maybe people get rid of them if they're not too toxic with mercury. They excrete them. But this
Yep.
one, just for at least for us non-excreters, some people excrete so that's a genetic thing. Some people excrete it a little bit better. But there's
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of us that don't. And I think that if you get enough exposure, you're going to get hammered with it anyway.
Well, and I don't know if I'm a good excreter or not, but I certainly had enough exposure to, I mean, when I went to the dentist to have them removed, she actually showed me one of my teeth and she's like, "You see how this looks gray? Your whole tooth kind of looks gray." She said that is a clear indication that it's off gassing. I'm like, "Oh."
I never heard that, but that's funny.
Yeah. She said that because mercury is temperature sensitive,
Yes.
it expands when you eat something hot or drink something hot and then contracts when you drink
Breaks
something.
up your teeth too. It's a
Yeah.
crappy thing to put in your teeth.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the reasons that it off gases so easily, is what they were telling me.
It
So,
vaporizes at room temperature.
hmm,
It's sort of expressed that way, so you can just sort of look at it and it'll poison you.
right. Yeah.
Your
Terrible,
your
terrible
your
stuff.
your you've got it in your teeth, and when you're, yeah, even when you're brushing it or drinking hot coffee, it's gonna give off a little bit of itself, and then
Yeah.
I guess you inhale that. It's your,
Mm-hmm. And so close to your brain. Like,
yeah, I don't know. That's so
so
close to your brain. I don't
perfectly.
know go how that works, but in any case, it's made a
Yeah.
lot of people really, really poisoned. A lot.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thankful that I wasn't more sick, but I think had I not stopped the exposure, who knows?
You would have wound up in memory care at 73. Or, some people just get completely bonkers, loopy, and crazy and live to be really, really old, like some members of my family, just incredibly eccentric
Mm.
and die at 95, which is sort of the best case scenario, I think. The worst case scenario is a memory care,
Right.
which happened to my mother, my brother, my grandmother.
So sad.
Yeah, I think that's what it all is. It's all mercury. Anyway, how's it going now? You've been at this for about a year. What's happened? Is that right? About a year?
Yeah. We're coming up on a year. I think I'm like 9 months in. I think I started in like August.
You should have
Maybe.
gone through the dump and come out of it or be coming out of it, but you didn't noticing anything in particular. You're just feeling better.
I have just consistently noticed that I feel better every round that I do.
I think
So,
people listening to this are going to be pleased to hear that.
absolutely. So, I'm up to, I've been doing just rounds of ALA and I've been doing, I'm up to 37.5 milligrams. Done 2 rounds of that. The first one was a little bit rough, so I kind of questioned, did I increase too fast? What was that? But the second round was perfect. I had almost no symptoms and I felt like I made more strides in that round than I had, the last quite number of rounds.
Still good to stick at that dose for a while, though. But when you
Yeah.
say, because, you know, it's hard to say, you never know what's going to happen. Like you may have another terrible round, and then you
Hmm.
say, what did I do different? You didn't do anything different. It's just like, who knows why? Um, but when you say you felt terrible, what was that like? What was the terribleness?
Well, I think part of it is, getting up every few hours at night. The
Yes.
sleep disruption kind of, makes me a little bit groggy. Um, but really like headaches, I kind of feel a little bit irritable. Just it's that like gnawing headache that just makes everything kind of just makes me cranky. It's hard to focus when you have this like, and it's not even like a super bad headache, but it's just enough to like make it hard to read, hard to focus, hard to stay on task and do things.
It's like brain fog with headache.
Yeah. Yeah. So that really seems to be my primary symptom that that I have. And so I have had to take aspirin a few times just to cut it out a little bit. But so I was doing the adrenal cocktail
Hmm.
and aspirin, and that seemed to be fairly effective. And now that I've added in the adrenal cortex, and that could have been what made this last round so beautiful
How much
because that
how much of it did you use?
just 50 milligrams in the morning and then a few days where I just kind of wanted to see what happened, I took 50 milligrams in the afternoon.
Oh, that's not a lot. That's good.
No, my understanding is you can pretty much take as much as you need.
Yeah, some people take 30 a day. Some
I can't imagine.
it's a little expensive. I'm like,
Right. Yes. Well, and I made the mistake of I bought the wrong adrenal cortex because I bought adrenal cortex with the whole
Oh, yeah,
whole,
with the
you know,
adrenal medulla, the whole gland. What happened when you did that? The whole gland.
well, I bought it and then realized it was the wrong one, and then you can't return it because I bought it off of Amazon. So
Oh, so you did try it?
I didn't try it because I knew it was the wrong one, and I thought I'm not messing around.
Not
So
gonna fool around with any of this stuff. Yeah.
no, I'd rather not. I don't particularly like side effects, and if this is a known don't do this, then I try to steer away from it.
So no, don't do.
Yeah. But so I'm excited to continue doing rounds and like hopefully see even more gains. I feel like I don't even know what to expect because I've already started to feel better. I would love to see my thyroid recover. I would love to see my hormones recover. Those are both direct correlations to mercury, so that would be incredible. I'd love to get off of, the progesterone that I take and the thyroid medication that I take. And, you know, I would love to lose weight. That seems to be nearly impossible.
Yeah, that seems to be a big symptom of this too. I mean, of toxicity is inability to lose weight. So your body kind of hoards that weight for some reason. Yeah, a lot people do though. I think you'll find that that'll happen. It
Yeah,
seems to be like it's got a, no matter what you do, you can't lose weight, no matter how hard you
yeah,
try. And that's also connected to your thyroid, isn't it? Yeah.
yes, yep, and your hormones. So, I mean, I just feel like the weight feeds the thyroid and hormone dysfunction and, other things. I have a strong family history of heart disease. So, for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
having extra weight makes me a little more anxious because it's like, hey, I have this heart disease that runs, 3 out of 4 grandparents had major heart disease. So,
There's a big connection with heart disease too, with mercury. That's the one thing we didn't get into the book because Andy died of a heart attack before we could write that chapter.
sad,
Yeah, that was really sad for me that we didn't get that in there and that he died too. Yeah,
right?
I think it was because he didn't chelate as much long as he should have, and that's how it affected him. Because I think that the heart disease ran in his family too. So you're doing a good thing to detox.
Well, hopefully,
Let that
I mean,
happen to you. Yes.
that's the whole goal is to reverse as much as I can of damage and to set myself ahead of the game, as I advance in age, because I don't want the effects, that we know that mercury can have. And so,
And that we see so much of us, much of everywhere.
mhm,
I think that one thing that when you talk about reversing damage, I think that one thing people worry a lot about is if they've done permanent damage to themselves and it's not, like if they've almost like a traumatic brain injury. And
yeah,
it's actually not like that. I mean, it's just inside you interfering actively with these biochemical processes. That's how it hurts you.
yeah,
And when you get it out, that stops happening and your body starts working properly again. I mean, I think that there is permanent damage can happen. Like I saw my brother's brain, it had shrunk. So I don't know that your brain grows back after you've been toxic for 50 years, but I think someone like you get that stuff out of you, these systems start working again, and you can, a younger person can recover completely, whatever that means, because we're
yeah.
people after all.
Well, that's my hope. And I mean, really, the supplements that we're taking are not harmful, whereas a lot of the medical interventions today for modern medicine are very harmful, the
Yeah,
pharmaceuticals.
yeah, yeah. That's
Those are things that I do not want to, I don't want to need those things. And so by taking some supplements and, following a protocol that while it might disrupt my sleep, hopefully will give me great gains. And so that was part of it too. Like, when you kind of do the pros and cons, there's really no harm in
Well,
in
that's
taking these supplements, you know?
one thing Annie said about supplements is that they're made from food and they're molecules that your body's used to seeing and recognizes and knows what to do with.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, I prefer supplements too, but we don't sneer at every pharmaceutical drug for sure. Well, you're taking thyroid meds. Well, maybe you're
Yeah,
taking
I mean,
natural
there's a
kind.
there's a time and place,
Yes,
right?
time
So
with
like
time.
there are, it's necessary in some circumstances, but if I can do something natural
Yeah,
to
me
prevent
too.
myself from needing them, then I'm just that much better off.
Yeah,
And
that's how
so
I
that's
feel.
the approach that, you know what I mean? Like if you need an emergency room, you need an emergency room. Absolutely. Like would never, you know, if you're having a heart attack, you need a stent. You need intervention. But I think there's plenty of things that we can do, such as this, that could prevent problems in the future. And so that's what gets me excited to think about, how can I maximize my health and not experience the things that my grandparents did.
Well, I think your story's really encouraging because sounds like you're just like bopping along there and making progress without too much problems. And I think people are going to be really encouraged to hear that because so many people are terrified. I mean, they've been so sick and they just scared to rock the boat in any way, you know.
Yeah.
So your
Yeah.
story is a good one for them to hear, and thank you. Thank you for telling us about it.
Well, thank you for your work. Thank you for, sharing the message and stuff because I mean, without it, I wouldn't have known what to do. I wouldn't have known that this could be a root cause and that mercury would have just continued to damage my body. And
Yeah.
and that's important, we need to share with people. I do all the time. Tell
Well,
people,
sometimes it takes courage to do that because people look at you like you're crazy or that you're a fanatic. Yeah.
I
Well,
don't really
anyway,
care what
I
people
think the
think.
time will come and the paradigm is going to shift. I think it's shifting now as we speak. I thought it was not gonna shift until I died of old age, but it looks like it's gonna shift and I'm gonna get to see it. So I'm excited about that.
Well, is it in England, United Kingdom? Somewhere they've started to ban mercury fillings.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
that's a
The
start.
mercury fillings, they're not banned in the States yet? No, I guess not. Yeah, one person I that I donate to is Charlie Brown from who does this worldwide work trying to ban mercury, the medical just mercury, period. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just get it out of medical products, which Andy referred to as a breathtaking exercise in criminal irresponsibility, he called it,
right?
in medical products. So they're trying to get it out. Well, okay, Amanda. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye.